Disconnected.
All right. You want to put that thing on?
Yeah.
It's a, yeah.
It's like a little clip thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll work.
All right.
So I'm here with my friend Ethan. It's been a long time.
It has
We
been a
are,
while.
I guess we were saying Dharma friends, Dharma allies.
Dharma ally.
On the path to freedom and absolute awakening.
Both trying to figure out what is truth.
Yeah.
What is absolutely true in this reality.
Yeah, I did a podcast yesterday with, do you know Jeremy?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, so with him, the prompt was, what is real? So
What is real?
So that's, I mean, we went in, dude, that podcast we went absolutely in on. I would actually love for you to listen to that. It's getting uploaded next week, but it's heat. So you were talking about this teacher that we both absolutely love. His name is Rob Berbea, RIP, he died about 5 years ago, but absolutely profound Buddhist Dharma teacher. I mean, in my opinion, he really takes the teachings in Buddhism to a different level. Taking a radical view of emptiness and then applying that to things like depth psychology, the role that image plays in our lives, being able to harness that to co-create, again, like deeper senses of beauty, opening to suffering, which is, again, different than traditional Buddha Dharma. Mm-hmm. But you were talking about a specific passage in his book, Seeing That Freeze, that shook you.
Yeah.
And I'm curious what that was.
Yeah, so Rob Berbea, I think he's inspired me more than any other Buddhist teacher. It's just like, he makes emptiness accessible. Like, I read about emptiness so many times before him, and I was like, I couldn't really figure it out. And he just like makes it so accessible of like, oh, this is like a lived reality that you can access. It's not for the people that are in caves their whole lives.
Yeah.
The passage was one of his contemplations, one of his meditations, which was...
Real quick, before we go in that, do
Yeah.
you want to explain what emptiness is from your perspective?
Interesting. Emptiness is... Yeah, I think it's so many things. Emptiness is...
I can give you my take on it. I wrote my thesis on it, actually, so it's
Really?
like fresh in my mind, yeah.
No, I want to go first before I hear yours.
Yeah.
I think my sense of emptiness is that it's this realization that nothing has solidity, that a cup, a table, a self, an object, that fundamentally there's one cannot arise without the other.
In the sense of interdependence.
Interdependence.
Like, for there to be a cup, there has to be a self? Is that what I'm hearing?
In a way, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think Berbea uses like codependent arising. So it's like, yeah, in order for this thing to arise, it also has to arise with the self.
Yeah. In reference to it.
In reference to it. Nothing can exist in isolation.
And this is like, for people that are new to this kind of line of thought, it comes down to the fabric of experience. Like, where did this come from? When you start to really ask that question, that's where emptiness comes in pretty clutch. Because you're like, oh, these are, again, dependent arisings, the subject-object duality. As far as there is a me that is experiencing a world. There's a duality there. There's me, and that's separate from this, right? And when you say a lack of solidity, I wonder if you could just kind of fill that out a little bit. What do you mean by solidity or lack thereof?
Yeah, so solidity being, I think the easiest way to grasp it is when you ask the question, who am I? The deeper you go, you can't find anything. And so as you try to find something that you are, the deeper you go into that question, you realize that there is actually nothing solid there.
Yeah. It reminds me of the sevenfold reasoning that Rob, I don't know if you remember that one in the book.
I think so.
It's like, we can go into it in more detail, but that's like a big part of Buddhism, which is, anatta in Sanskrit, which is no findable self. We experience this thing as a me, a ben, whatever you want to call it. It's not even just an idea, it's a felt experience that is pre-verbal. There has to be a me if I'm experiencing thoughts in my head and a world out here, there has to be a thing experiencing it. And really, that's an assumption. There can be thoughts, there can be colors, there can be concept, there can be interaction. But actually to say that there is a solid separate self is an unfounded assumption, right? It's like, where did we actually get that? We just kind of assume that it has to be this way. And that's kind of part of the radical teachings in Buddhism, which is actually we've looked for it thoroughly. I'm sitting in meditation, doing all these contemplations, and we can't find it. Is it the body? Is it the mind? Is it the narratives? We can't really pinpoint it. And that's where we start to touch into groundlessness, right? Which could be a synonym for emptiness. The groundlessness of phenomenal experience. And at first, it's easy to flounder in that, right? And the notion of that solid, separate self tends to reject that, right? Reject that truth of groundlessness, because that means absolute annihilation of all that we unconsciously assumed that we were. And it reminds me, a big part of Zen is, some say walking the Zen path is a path of death, to die here in life, so that we're free to really let that separate self die, at least. But I'm curious, what's this passage?
I actually think it was sevenfold reasoning. So let me describe it. I think that's what it was. And there's also a bunch of threads here that I don't want to lose. Yeah. The importance of death in contemplating it, the importance of the implications of emptiness. One of the things I think we should cover at some point is, like, Buddhism tends to get this sense of like detachment. People relate to it from a detachment place, emptiness. The implications of it are vast. And I think it relates deeply to this idea of infinity, emptiness and infinity, and that there is no boundaries.
Well, we don't have to go to that example. We can keep that on the back burner. Let's stay with what's alive right now, because I love what you're speaking
I think it's all alive.
It kind of is. I mean, I'll let you.
I think it actually relates to. I think they all relate. There's a thread that goes through all of them.
Maybe we'll hit them all.
So the passage is, you realize that everything in your experience is not self, but self cannot be found anywhere other than what is in your experience. And that is the key insight. And it shook me when I first heard it, and then I kind of forgot about it. And I'm like, there's something there, that the self cannot be found in any phenomenal experience that we have, but it's not separate. The emptiness or infinite or absolute, it can't possibly be separate from this either.
Right. Yeah.
But it can't be any finite form.
And we're coming into like these deep levels of truth. It reminds me, this is where we have to understand the necessity of paradox, of leave the logical mind behind, feel into your body. And that is the compass, really. Is what feels right. Again, the mind will be, but the self has to be here, or it has to be somewhere else. It has to be one or the other, right? It's like, well, could it be neither and sort of both? And that's, and again, experientially, so describe your experience when that first sunk.
I think paradox is a good word, where my mind just couldn't fathom how that could be the case. And I just sat with it. And I think it was the first experience of like true not knowing, where it's like, oh shit, okay, so nothing I'm experiencing is me, but I can't be anything, but somehow it all is at the same time. And it's like, it's such a mindfuck that it's, when I first heard it, because it was so paradoxical and so confusing, that's almost like my signal that there's something there.
Facts. I mean, it's like, again, the logical, conceptual mind wants to be able to grasp it. But the thing that we are referring to, as far as the absolute, the ultimate, the ineffable, emptiness, you can't pinpoint it. The second you put a word, a label, a concept on it, it's no longer everything in infinity. It's you put a label on it. It's you put a box around infinity, and that can't be infinity. You know what I mean? It's just, and that's the thing. It's so it is almost like moving to this nonverbal place, where, again, it reminds me of Zen koans, which are basically unsolvable riddles designed to turn your brain into a tight knot until it just breaks. Ideally, breaks open into the non-conceptual. And that's the thing. What is the non-conceptual? Because you could make the argument, in this world of duality, of form, of things, everything is a concept. Feelings, thoughts, experiences, narratives, and these can be non-verbal concepts. They don't have to be language,
Yeah.
but they are felt concepts that we then experience. So what is beyond concept? And I'll ask you that.
This is one I've grappled with for a while, because I think the predisposition that I had when I started is like, let me just get rid of all concepts. Concepts are bad. Maybe I'll find truth if I just get rid of all concepts. And I imagine other people probably, when they start into Buddhism, that's the sense of like, thoughts are bad, concepts are bad.
Right.
I think there's, again, like a slightly more nuanced or slightly more paradoxical sense of like, I like the word distinction. Like everything is distinction.
Yeah.
Like distinction just creates a bunch of finite things that are not the absolute. But like thoughts in your head are a part of the absolute too. And concepts that I'm overlaying, that is encompassed within the absolute. And so nothing is separate from it. But when we make it finite and believe in the solidity of the finiteness, I think that's the problem.
Well said, bro. Give me some nugs. That's so. What I'm hearing, I mean, a few quotes went in my head. I mean, first, it does relate to the idea of non-duality, where it's not two. Subject and object are not separate. The distinctions and the concepts and the non-conceptual are actually the same. How could that be? And this is where we get into the realm of dependent origination. What appears to us is dependent on certain conditions of mind. And it reminded me of the Nisargadatta quote, which is, love knows that, or knowing that I'm, or what is it? It's love knows that I'm everything, wisdom knows that I'm nothing. Between the two, my life flows. So how can you be everything and nothing? What do you mean? And this is where, I mean, mathematically, we could talk about the concept of zero and the concept of infinity. These are both, in a sense, absolutely ungraspable concepts. Neither of them really exist. But actually, yeah, at the same time, they have to conceptually. But, and then so bring it full circle to also the Heart Sutra. In Buddhism, one of the central texts has a line that form is emptiness, emptiness is form. And at first you're like, what the fuck? That doesn't help me at all. You're like, but they're pointing to something real, which is again the necessity of paradox, which is, so I'll let you take this too, because I guess how can it be that form is emptiness and emptiness is form? How can conceptuality, my thoughts, this mug, be formless, conceptless, the ineffable, simultaneously?
It's really a profound question. I think let's like try to attack the complete opposite question. How could this be emptiness? What if we ask like, how could this be finite? How could
That's a good question.
How could this thing possibly be finite?
Run with it. Keep going. Yeah.
Everything within this requires the entirety of reality to exist.
100%.
Kind of like the Indra's net
idea.
And so of course this is, when form and emptiness, I always struggle with emptiness though. It's like, I feel sometimes I start to grok it, and then it's like, is emptiness the same as like God or infinity, or is it is there a distinction there? I don't know, but
I like the interdependence bit. So again, Indra's net, for anyone who doesn't know, it's this concept of the image is a spider's web with dew on it, and in any droplet is a reflection of every other droplet of dew. So in the universe, everything is in a sense, a reflection of everything else. And it's kind of what is it? The Blake quote, right? That is the whole infinity in a grain of sand, an eternity in an hour. So again, what we are too. is not separate from the farthest reaches of the universe, not even maybe known to us, seen, unseen, to human consciousness.
Yeah.
And recognizing that, I think, like pragmatically, I think this conditioned narrative, or not even maybe narrative, but perspective that is based on materialism, that this is a dead, lifeless, random universe that is where only particles are real and matter is real. But what does that make me? Just this solid, separate self that's kind of lost alone. I kind of don't know how I got here, and I don't know what's really good. You are a reflection of everything that could ever be, timeless, eternity. So that's kind of the usefulness of that interdependence bit. So my take on form is emptiness and emptiness is form is going to the dependent arising bit. So there's this book by Andrew Holacek. Do you know Andrew Holacek? So did you read Reverse Meditation?
Yeah.
Bro. So his whole bit on kind of how clinging constructs experience. You could interchange clinging with resistance, aversion. It constructs experience in the sense that, well, let's just start by saying in the Tibetan tradition, they claim that all that's here is light and space. Even the experience of a material world, of matter, something to stand on, is actually a play of the mind. And so what they're pointing to there is that experience of anything, of even matter, of sensation, of a mug, is dependent on certain qualities of the mind that are not inherently there. They are actions. So the action of clinging, of having the mind fixate on a thing. Like you, okay, at the rawest level, again, labels are not going to really work for this, but we could use words like color, movement, light, you know what I mean? It's all flashing, so where does Ethan come in? Again, it's the mind contracts around your form. I know that face is a sort of clinging. It's a contraction around that. And that happens at such a rapid movement where there's clinging, contraction, resistance, and through that, again, this is dependent arising, so it's like the 12 links. We construct a world simultaneously out of thin air, smoke, and mirrors. So again, this mug, it's not inherently there. It actually requires the mind to, in a sense, there's an element of resistance. So when Holacek talks about clinging and aversion, clinging is, I like this, I don't want it to end. Aversion is, I don't like this, get it away from me, push it away. So we could say that that is resistance. And the way that I look at resistance, one example that comes to me is, it's like the wind. So it's like the wind. In order for us to know that the wind is here, it has to hit something. Either our ears or the leaves, moving them, making sound. Otherwise, if it's just moving, how do we know there is wind? And the same is true of light. In order for us to know it's there, it has to hit something. There has to be something resisting the photons, from the scientific lens. But that's the thing. So can there be an experience of a world at the deepest levels of non-resistance? And this is where Rob talks about the jhanas. When we open to the deepest levels of our being I listened to a talk by him recently where he says, you turn the allowing meter to 11. And you just open to anything you experience. And over, years of practice, the mind settles to these very deep places where the fabrication of material objects, a world, the sensation of a body, of a mind, of consciousness itself actually fades. Where subject and object completely merge. And in the words of, I think it's Ramana Maharshi, that which is not real in deep dreamless sleep, subject and object have merged, is not ultimately real. So when you experience those deep states of meditation through non-clinging, and there is nothing. I mean, again, you can't even say there's nothing. It's void. And then you come out of that and you see how the mind is, the action of clinging and resistance constructs experience. But simultaneously, it's not anywhere else. It's here. It's just dependent on on specific conditions of some flavor of resistance. And all of a sudden it appears. Oh, interesting. So that's my understanding of dependent arising. And I mean, there's a lot in what I just said. So it's like, I'm curious how that hits you though.
No, that resonated really deeply.
Cool.
There's a lot there though, like
Cool.
you said. Yeah, I was having like sparks of insights throughout that entire thing. There's something around I just started, when you use the word cessation, I've never like experienced it in that way before, but it's like, yeah, of course there could be a cessation when you drop into such a deep space that the subject and object are not separate. Of course it would feel like you just disappear because we only experience ourselves in relation. So if I'm no
Right.
longer in relation, where am I? I'm gone.
Right. There can't be a subject without a world for it to view, and there can't be a world without something viewing it. They're one in the they're where there's one, there's another.
Something that I'm curious about. So you use the word jhana. My experience of jhana is like, if you just drop into the breath with deep enough concentration, it just becomes pure ecstasy.
Yep.
Pure pleasure.
It's my experience too. I haven't gotten to the formless jhanas yet.
Me neither. It's still like Daniel Ingram describes it really well when he says like the first couple jhanas, they're actually like pleasurable but also unpleasurable at the same time.
Yeah.
Where there's like, you can still feel the contraction in it, and it's like, oh, this is like pure pleasure, and it is kind of has a flavor of suffering to it.
It does. So you're under. Okay, there's a lot in what you just said. Just for context, if people are wondering what the jhanas are, it's a framework of meditative experience when you engage in what's called samatha meditation, which is cultivating calm. The mind is actively fabricating less. So what happens when the mind really relaxes and slows down is you see how, eventually everything is fabricated by the mind, but you sink into these states of what you would call in the first jhana maybe, it's piti, which is it just feels like sensation. You know what I mean? It's like, it's kind of like a buzz.
Yeah.
And then it goes into second jhana, which is characterized predominantly by what's called sukha, or sort of bliss. And that feels nice. That feels really nice. And this is an experience of bliss that, and Rob talks about this, that is basically inaccessible in normal consciousness. You cannot get that degree of intensity, not just intensity, but how fully immersed you are in bliss at like the cellular level, and it's stable, depending on how much you've stabilized the jhana. But so you sink into this bliss that is, and Rob's talked about this. How much money do you think that would be worth? Like, absolutely priceless. By sitting down, you can have something better than the best orgies, food, any sort of experience. It is better than that sensorially.
I want to make a quick comment there. Yeah, one of the things I think about with that is like, this is not just like some abstract thing.
Yeah.
It's not just for like meditation junkies. Like, think of the implications for addiction. Where it's like, oh, I just got home from work, I need a beer to chill out. What if I just access a jhana right now?
Dude.
And if you just have that on demand, and if you get good enough, you can just get it on demand. Like, instead of a beer, let me just sit on the couch and just chill in jhana for a little bit before I go on with my day.
Totally.
You know?
Like, even sitting here, I can feel piti over my body by the intention. Do you know what I mean? So it's like you can start to access that randomly. Like when you're walking, I can just like literally just be like, oh, how good can I feel? And that's the thing, it's sort of a hedonistic style of meditation, which is not bad. It's more, how good can I really feel right now? How much can I relax, open? Again, the somatic experience of something like compassion, washing over your body, you're just like, oh.
It's surprisingly easy to get into too.
And the thing is, like, I love how you said, what are the implications? And this like almost haunts me, because I'm like, yo, look at the state of the world. You know, you can access raw, glowing bliss from sitting and concentrating. What happens to the infinite chase for sense pleasures, for more and more and more, when you can get something that is, and this is not an exaggeration, so much better experientially. It's not even a contest, I can say that with confidence. Infinitely better experientially than anything you can get here. And that doesn't mean you don't go after all those things. Cool, yeah, sense pleasures, nice things, sweet. But you know the limitations of them. And if you really want to feel good, you're like, I know what I need to do.
Yeah.
So it goes deeper than just bliss.
And it goes deeper in that I truly believe there's, if you go deep enough into the jhanas, it converges with insight meditation, where the deepest jhanas are the same as like awakening states, but like there's still separation up until some of the later jhanas, and I guess I haven't fully access to that, so I don't know, but I'm kind of trusting like a lot of teachers will say that they converge.
Do you so what I know about that, I would love to hear your take on it, but so there are 4 form jhanas, which are basically sensation, bliss, radical contentment, and then a deep state of equanimity. And then there's basically a universal fading. A lot of people fade into this white light. The experience of a body fades, and you enter what's called the 4 formless jhanas. And I forget the order of them. I haven't hit them yet, but it's the realm of infinite knowing, nothingness, space, infinite knowing, infinite space, infinite nothingness, and then the realm of neither perception nor non-perception, which is, again, just kind of a mind fuck to try to be like, what do you mean? Perception, but not really perceiving. And then after that, the cessation of consciousness. And I think what you're pointing to is a lot of people claim, and again, this is not some magic shit. This is, I mean, it is actually, but at the same time, this is a practice, just like playing the piano. And the more you do it, the better you get. And you can access states in these formless jhanas when, again, you and this have the false duality between the two has dissolved. And you realize, I am this. And this is experientially, this is felt in the body. This is not up here. This is a somatic experience. And at that point, you fade into these places of universal oneness. And this is not a heady concept of like, oh yeah, I'm on mushrooms and we're all one. It's like, yes, that's useful, that's valid, and that's beautiful. But it's another thing when your body fades and you melt into the oneness. No one can take that away from you. It's not a wishy-washy thought. And with that, and Rob talks about this, is this very deep experience of sacredness. When you go, especially to the end of the jhanas and into what is the cessation of consciousness, when subject and object merge, when you come out of that consistently, and this is where Rob's later teachings are really focused around beauty, the sacred, cultivating divinity, recognizing that this ground we stand on is a miracle. It's an illusion of, it's a manifestation of divinity, of mind, coming from absolute void. Everything here is absolutely indefinitely sacred. And so what are the impacts on experience? What does that mean for a society? Like, that is really my question. If we had enough people to be like, hey, this is actually legit, this is definitely worth doing, we can teach math, but let's also teach samatha meditation in grade school. And we had cultures of people being able to tap into this. What's the impact over generations, or now?
It's nuts. I don't even know what the impact is, but I just fucking crack up at the idea of materialism. Like, dude, how the fuck are we believing this?
Bro.
How the fuck do we believe that this shit is just like meaningless and there's no purpose, and I'm just gonna go back to void? Well, you might go back to void, but that the void is meaningless, and that there's like, I don't know, it just blows my mind. It's just absurd what reality is and what we're living in the most beautiful, sacred possible way. This kind of relates, but I wanted to throw this in there. I was listening to something on the way here, and one of the things that was said in it was, or I think it might be a Terence McKenna quote, like, science requires the existence of one miracle and then says we can figure out the rest, and the one miracle is the creation of everything that exists from nothing for eternity. And it's like, how do you overlook the creation of everything for eternity?
At the foundation, you have people walking around like zombies, just like, oh, this is just life, whatever. Where the fuck did this come from? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. There's that explanation of, again, the dependent arising, as far as like when you cling, a world appears. But at its base, nobody knows. And as far as death, going back to the void, if that's even what it is, again, no one knows for sure. I mean, there's a lot of good guesses, but yeah, I think, again, materialism is it's a valid question. How did it come to be? And in my experience, and Rob has a talk about this too. Shout out Rob Rebea. I mean, this is basically a Rob extension of Rob right here. But he has a podcast about honoring all dharmas. And so dharma's meaning path. So the path of materialism, let's just say during like the Enlightenment and the scientific revolution, it was necessary. We were like, what, coming out of, medieval Europe. We were trying to figure out science. We're like, oh, we have a little bit of medicine that kind of works. So we have these cool devices that kind of work. Oh, this is useful. It expands to create more effective crops, better buildings. We got AC, we got refrigerators. Great. Science is awesome.
Yeah.
It serves a purpose. But we're at this point where that thread, the value of it, is starting to die. It is dying.
I think it's breaking down rapidly.
Yeah. So we're like, okay, we have the material needs basically set. Okay, dope. Now it comes down to this existential issues about, is this all that there is? Because we've been living like it is for the past 500 years plus. You know what I mean? And again, listen to your body, using the body as a compass. What do you feel? And how much of the mental health crisis is rooted in that belief of a dead, lifeless universe where, oh, there is no God, there is no spirit. I'm just kind of here, and no one really knows what to do, what's good, what's bad. And that kind of, again, fabricated experience, I think breeds that sense of meaninglessness. And I think a lot of people are having to deal with that right now.
For sure.
And that's a sign for me from forces beyond, saying, hey, maybe shift the way you see things. Maybe this isn't as solid as it seems. Maybe we need to explore, go into our assumed beliefs, start to really inquire into them, question them, maybe see through them. And then what's next? In this age of Aquarius, in these prophetic times, what's next?
Who knows?
Well, I'm curious what you think.
In terms of like, where's the world going from a philosophical
I
point of view?
have some theories. I mean, where's the world going? So we have, we got Big Daddy Trump in office, which is fucking a classic catastrophe. And then we have, the world, Israel's wilding out, it's fucking crazy. A lot of confusion, a lot of, what I would say you could reduce to selfishness, greed, and fear. I mean, you could maybe even reduce it to just fear, period.
For sure.
Which is rooted in illusion.
You could say that all contraction is fear.
That's what Holocheck says, right? It's the primary contraction. When I'm afraid, again, that creates a sense of self. Who's afraid? Oh, it must be this thing right here.
It also makes it really simple of what's the solution. It's like, what is the opposite of fear? That's the solution.
What is the opposite of fear?
It's got to be love.
It's got to be love.
It's infinite love.
What's the opposite of contraction? Expansion.
Yeah.
Open the heart.
Acceptance, love, allowing, not wishing things were otherwise, or judging, or specifically with the world, I struggle with this one. Because like there's so many people where it's like it feels so intense in their experiences all the time, and so many people I think there's like this intensity that everyone's carrying
of suffering.
Because of the reasoning is like the world is in chaos and therefore suffering. And honestly, like I try to not hold like opinions on it. It's like things are playing out. People are very greedy and fearful and selfish, and they are, you could say, in some ways lowering the consciousness of a lot of other people.
Through
and
that
like
fear.
Maybe that is what is required for people to then realize how this low consciousness thing just is not the thing, and then break into a different type of consciousness. That's my current conception of things.
What it reminds me of, and I talked about this last night actually, is the Christian concept of the rapture. So in the end of days, the apocalypse, those who God chooses will be saved, taken to heaven with God, chilling. Okay, cool. And the others will be living in hell on earth, running around with the demons. So since COVID, it seems almost obvious to me that this polarity is becoming more extreme, of those that are becoming more gripped by fear and the solidification and the reification that goes along with fear into a very solid, scary world. And then you have those who are like, have broken open in a sense. And again, there's levels to this, but keep saying opening to love. If the bombs fall, if everyone dies, if I die of starvation, disease, getting shot in the fucking head, that's how it is for me at least. Go to those deep existential fears and say, what if? And then come to the place of, it's okay. It's okay. It has to be. And for me,
I
yeah.
have not gotten to that place. I will say, yeah, I think this conception of like polarity in that it's almost harder to be in the middle. You almost have to go one way or the other, complete opening or complete contraction.
It's the rapture,
And like
right?
I almost feel like I am in the middle to some degree, where it's like I feel the existential fears and like the deep something like my experience is that the fear of death is almost constant.
Yeah.
It's one that I just grapple with 24/7, and I probably have for a couple years now. And that's one where it's like just this fear of death. I can't let it go. I don't know why. There's like it's so stuck, but I have this sense that once it gets let go, life will be so much better.
So I just want to poke some questions there. What is it about death? Is it the unknown, the groundlessness of the unknown? Is it a potential ending? Is it? I mean, it is an ending of something.
Yeah, I think
this is the hard work right now.
Fundamentally, there's something in this world that I don't want to lose. That I like. It's like this like life. I'm a human. There's some way in which thinking about passing over. Yeah, it's like unknown. I don't even know what it is. It's just like it brings me to a feeling of absurdity so fast though, where like the more I contemplate it, the more I'm like in this feeling of pure absurdity, and I border on the pure like joyful, meaningful ecstasy of absurdity and the terror, the groundless, confusing side of it. And I just
Totally.
go back and forth between those, and that's my experience of psychedelics as well. Is it's like you reach a certain point, and then it's both terror and ecstasy at the same time.
The sublime, right? That's how they define the sublime: terror, or ecstasy. So let me know how this resonates. So my understanding of the fear of death is, I mean, there's some assumptions involved in that. That there is something that is inherently alive right now that could die. And what would that be? And is that separate from my conceptuality being projected onto maybe a sense of self? Is that what dies? Is the body who I am? And again, through the certain inquiries, we can see the body is not necessarily who I am. Inquiries like chopping off arms. You chop off your legs, you're not less you. Okay, conceptually you get that. You chop off both arms, still not less you. I mean, you don't have as much ability, but still you. There's still a self. So the body, if we get rid of it, it doesn't make you less you. So really the body cannot be what you are. So is it clinging to consciousness? Because there is some sort of, and so it also reminds me of the mind's, it's very natural when living in, I mean, what the Buddhists call delusion, to try to cling to some solidity, right? Some sort of certainty. This is who I am. And through exploring absurdity or emptiness, notions of who we are become very fluid, if not completely absent, actually. And then, so there has to be this notion of, this fabricated notion of this is who I am really, solidly, and that is what's being lost. But the question is, I love this. The question is, how real is that? And then, so okay, we can talk about this conceptually, but if we want to really move beyond ego, the way to do that, there's only one way, and it is completely and utterly to open our heart to that fear surrounding the death of the ego. The way out is through. It's like Dante's Inferno. You got to crawl through Satan's legs to get to heaven. So that thing you don't want to see, what if this is really it for everything that I am? What if it's a complete annihilation? How does that feel in the body? Can we, and this is more psychotherapeutic, but can we hold that experience? Breathe through it. Let it be here. Let it wash over us. Let the tears come, which they should. And once they really flow, we come to this place, I'm free with death. I'm free, not around it. I'm not finding a way out. I'm free with it. And it's from that place that our narratives and our beliefs and our assumptions become malleable. Where because I've experienced the solidity of that concept, really, of that conceptual experience, I'm so intimate with it, I'm not resisting it. And when I'm not resisting it, I'm not solidifying it. And all of a sudden, through the lack of resistance, it becomes malleable and fluid. And by going directly into death, I found you can start to actually see beyond it. Like, again, experientially, where I'm like, wait, death is not actually what we think it is. It becomes, through resistance of the psyche, this big scary wall. You know what I mean? You're like, who made it like that? We did, because we're pushing it away. And this is a culturally conditioned. This is not personal. We have been pushing away death, I mean, you could say forever. It's like an animalistic part of us. And we're coming to this place where I think creation is asking us to shed that, to move beyond that, to really become intimate with fear of groundlessness, of fear of letting go. And what if, like, that's the thing. What's the worst case scenario? It hurts? Bro, life fucking hurts. I don't know, but like, you know what I mean? That it's uncomfortable, it's really unpleasant. Maybe I go to some hellscape. Nothing lasts forever, right? So it's like, can we, and then there's, I think, an element with the love, which is trust. Can I trust what we are? Knowing, I mean, you could say even the self, like you said, is an extension of divinity. And what we are even beyond that. When the body fades and the jhanas, what are we? And can we trust that when it's my time to die, when I say mine, I mean this body and mind, I mean, who knows what's after, but when it's when it's time for this to die, whether it's tomorrow or in 50 years, 80 years, whatever, maybe I'll be out here for 1,000 years with ChatGPT in my brain, but when it is my time, can I trust and know, again, in my bones, in my soul, what I am and what I'm not? Can I see, yes, this body is a part of me, but I'm this. And when you want to take this body, me, come take it whenever. I know who I am. I know this is, I mean, a servant of this. Please, it's not up to me, it's up to you. And can we, again, so this is the way I see it, it's like neural pathways. We have a neural pathway of maybe resistance of death and solidification of ego. We can start to condition a radically different neural pathway where I am this place. If you want to take me, take me. If it has to be painful, let it be painful. I trust you. And I know that, in a sense, you are more me than this body ever could be. So I'm wondering how that lands.
Dude, like, perfectly.
Good, dude, good.
Yeah, there's, holy shit.
And how are you feeling in the body?
Fairly light.
Good, good, good.
I went into the contraction a little bit as I started talking about it, and now I'm feeling a little bit lighter. Yeah, just this sense of like, is there actually a distinction between life and death? What if this manifestation of infinity is no different than the manifestation of infinity when this body dies? Or obviously it could be, it's probably, the content of it is probably different, but the context is not. Yeah. How could the context be different?
I love it. I mean, these are the questions. I mean, for me, life and death are empty concepts. They take a mind believing in its own fabrications to exist, right? So you could say, is this life? And who says so? And if we get rid of the label of life, what happens to death? They're co-arisings. When I say this is not even life right now, this is just, where are we?
Yeah.
Really, where are we? That's what I'm saying. Could this be the same exact thing?
It brings me into this sensation, this experience of spacelessness and eternity, where it's like, how could time be a thing? How could, this is something I've been sitting with a lot lately. When I'm like driving in my car, I'm like, it doesn't feel like I'm moving. Things are like moving past me, but it doesn't, like the experience of existence isn't changing.
Yeah.
And in the same way as time moves on, the experience of existence doesn't change.
Totally.
And so fundamentally, when I die, it's not gonna be in the future. And it's not gonna take me anywhere else.
Bro. So you're pointing to the emptiness of time.
The emptiness of time, the emptiness of space.
Exactly.
Everything is empty.
Bro. It takes me to like, holy shit, it's all falling apart. And that's the thing, bro. I'm like, where are the people talking about this? This is fucking insane. Like, genuinely. So again, Rob talks about this, the emptiness of time. And with that, the implications of that, meaning, time and space are actually dependent on one another, and they're empty. And he uses a beautiful, actually kind of analytical meditation. The Tibetans actually use this one, which is, so time, we usually experience it as there's a present moment right here, and then there's a past before, and there's a future after. So you can view it as sort of the stick, right? So you could say, with my glasses, there's a middle section, and then there's a section over here, and a section over here. We got past, present, future. Okay, so in one sense, we could say, where is the past? And where is the future? I've never seen it, actually. I've always been right fucking here. So you could say that the experience of a present, a middle, right here, is dependent on the concept of past and future. The present moment cannot exist without the relative experience of a past and a future. That's what creates a present. So when we see, I've actually never seen the fucking past and I've never seen the future. So maybe they're actually not real. So when the past and the future aren't real, actually with that, the present moment becomes not real. And we see, wait, this is an idea. This is just a concept that then gets projected as reality. Like,
so good, so
and
good.
It's crazy, bro.
Because everyone thinks of the present as like this tiny pinpoint thing in between past and future. But like, what if there is just eternity? Past and future arise within eternity. It's like past and future are concepts that are created within eternity.
Dude, the way I put it in my thesis was all of these ideas and notions, the creation of a certain world is just like a spark in a campfire fading into the night sky. It seems real and then it's gone, and what's the backdrop? You know what I mean? Eternity, and we can create all these different worlds. And this is, again, so we see time as a fabrication. What is the potential of the mind to fabricate consciously, to create anything it wants in this fucking realm where nothing is solid? What's the limit? When we don't create one, what's the limit? And that's the radicality of emptiness, which I think, again, a lot of Buddhists come down to, it's just empty and it is what it is. And Rob points to this, but he's like, but what is the world you're experiencing that is indistinguishable from the concepts that you might unconsciously be holding? Concepts about materiality, about time and space, about the reality of anything that could occur in time and space. So, yeah.
This goes to something that Peter Ralston, another teacher I really appreciate, says, where he's like, you could say all beliefs are fundamentally false, but yet we operate using them. So you might as well choose an effective one that makes life really fucking beautiful.
Exactly.
If you're gonna have to choose one, realize that it's absolute, on an absolute level, it's not true, but then use it.
Right, that's the thing. We know that it's empty, but yet me, as I experience myself as separate, when I'm not complete void, when there is experience, I'm experiencing fabrications. So let's consciously understand how to create the fabrications that make this place what we want. And Rob points to this, and I really think it's true. I think experiences of beauty, meaningfulness, depth, sacredness, like in my last podcast, I like pointed over here and it was a beautiful sunset, and I was like, we could view this as like a beautiful sunset here on planet Earth, and yes, it's gorgeous. Not quite setting yet, it's still kind of nice and warm, but we can also say, again, the light shining on us right now, this is a blessing from source, from this absolutely blinding light that is inescapable to us. We're being blessed for this conversation. Maybe there are angels here with us. Maybe, who am I speaking to? Is it Ethan? Or behind all the mask of Ethan, who are you? Who am I? And again, we start to play with concepts, play with notions, fabricated notions, to say, hey, maybe, what if, am I an angel? Are these thoughts in my head coming from God? Are these movements that I do, whose are they? And you start to tap into this place of real depth, and I can feel it right now.
Holy shit, yeah.
Remember, it's a time of remembrance. It's a time of opening the heart and the whole being to loosen the fabrications, the solidity that has been psychically imposed culturally forever. So I love this thought too. You could say the sense of self and the sense of fabrication, of solidification, is actually a trauma response. It's a trauma response built on fear, animalistic, and we evolved, bro. I mean, 10,000 years ago, we were like killing saber-toothed cats. Okay, not that long time-wise, if you believe in that, but
and maybe that's why it's so fucking hard to reach awakening,
dude.
Because everything in our biology is trying to create
survive
contraction and survival.
And that's where the material dharma, materiality, materialism, we built a life that's comfortable enough for the physical body that I actually realize the fight or flight response is not really necessary all the time. I'm like chilling. Yeah. But yet so many people have this fight or flight, and that's evolutionary to keep you alive.
Right.
But we're in this place where it's like, we need you to see that, open to that, understand that, and really bathe it in love in order to dissolve that fight or flight. So that, again, that's where the projected solidity of experience can start to fall away. It dissolves, and all of a sudden it's malleable, and all of a sudden I really am an angel. You are an angel. The sun is speaking to us. This wind is a message. What is it saying? It's up to us to decide. And and this is where like I make this content, and a part of me is like, bro, why do I do this? Who fucking cares? But at the same time, I'm like, dude, like the latent potential of the human, not just individuals, but of society. What are the implications of this? I cannot rest until I'm like, yo, check this shit out. It's fucking crazy. Somebody prove me wrong. I'm like waiting, dude. Like, and it's,
what I appreciate about you and about what you're saying is like, there's this emptiness, but it's alive with passion.
Yes.
Like the emptiness does not have to mean dull and lifeless and void. Like it's easy to like attach those fabrications onto emptiness, but it's like emptiness can take any possible form. It can be like the most energetic, passionate, mission-driven person you've ever met in your life. You can't picture what it is.
And that's the thing too. I think people get, in traditional Buddha Dharma, desire is the root of suffering. But like, I want to taste this world. I want to drink everything that I can in this place while I'm here. And I think there's something inexplicably sacred about that. Yes, please, someone has to do it. And what am I afraid of? A little bit of suffering? And for me, the real power is to hold the traditional Buddha Dharma so that we adopt those skills that are necessary in order to sort of learn how to control our suffering. Because when I just want too much, I want to taste everything, and if I can't have it all, then my life is a fucking wreck. If I don't have control over my mind a little bit, that is very painful. So being able to use the teachings in more traditional, especially Theravada Buddhism, to know how to kind of reduce suffering when that's needed, but then know how to tap into that, again, sacred longing for anything. It can be longing for connection with another. It can be, the beauty of sex. It can be the beauty of life, nature, the natural world, of service to others. Don't push that longing away. Again, who wants those things? Beyond these masks, could it be the angels? In the Jungian depth psychology term, the daimon that wants to live through you, see through your eyes, feel through your body. Let them in. Shed this illusion of a Ben. And yeah, that's one level. Also, the gods are trying to taste the world right now. How do we let them?
Yeah.
And that's an open question. How do we let them?
Or just God.
Exactly.
God
Either
is
or.
trying to taste existence.
Yep.
And yeah, it's like the triad of truth, beauty, and goodness. It's not just truth. The beauty and the goodness are so amazing.
Is that Mark Gaffney type thing? Do you know what I'm talking about? No?
Just like in general, like philosophy.
Yeah, well said.
Truth, beauty, and goodness.
Yep.
And it's the deeper I go into the path, it started out as just truth. And now it's like mostly beauty and goodness. Yeah. Like the truth, like I'm like, okay, that's like interesting. Like I'm philosophically interested in the absolute truth. But it's like, what about like what is the deepest possible experience of beauty you can fathom and the deepest possible experience of goodness? Yeah. And there's this concept I really love, which is and again, I guess it all comes back to fabrication, but it's like if I have judgment towards others, I'm going to experience suffering.
Yeah.
I'm going to experience lack of goodness in myself.
Boom.
If all I want is goodness for every possible being in existence, you know what happens? You feel good.
Yeah, bro, it's
Goodness
so simple.
inhabits within you when
Yeah.
you want others to good, and it's this
Yeah.
reciprocal feedback loop. And it's like, well, then why would I not be good? It doesn't make sense.
And it's almost like this is like the very blatant, obvious truth of karma. Karma doesn't have to be some like amorphous, you know, judgment scales where God or whatever is gonna strike you down if you fuck up. It's like, bro, if I'm a dick to people, if you really have some awareness about your own experience, you feel pretty contracted, tight, and in pain actually.
Yeah.
In those moments, as opposed to, hey, someone cuts me off in traffic, flips me off. I can either chase them down, like, but really, if you have some awareness, a good level of awareness, be like, I don't want to do that. Actually, deadass, I'm good. You know what I mean? You can kind of just slow down the mind and be like, I'm not going to choose to engage in that habit. And those are the micro moments that you start to, I mean, going back to the rapture kind of idea, you're opening your heart to experience, where I'm not going to let myself contract, become dense, and plummet down to the underworld. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. There's a quote, the angels can fly because they take themselves lightly, open to life. It's like if we contract, become dense, we plummet to a place we don't want to be, depending on how dense, you know, what circle of hell you want to end up in. You know what I mean? So, and yeah. Bro,
It's insane, man.
It is. This was a fucking beautiful conversation, bro.
Yeah, man.
Let's do another
Always
one sometime
appreciate it.
soon.
Uh-huh.
This was sick, dude.
Amazing.
Cool.